Good afternoon, everybody. Big welcome to the Case Flower School demonstration. So today I'm going to keep it.
I'm just going to move us over
I'm a bit
little
shaky there now, Deirdre. She's shaking me all over the place. Just getting all the cameras kind of set up because we are trying to go live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. What else, Deirdre? Just about. We try and go live on as many of the social media pages as possible. So some of you joined in with me yesterday when I did the class on our on our Ukraine bowls. One of them has just fallen. So if you missed that, you know, that way you can always watch yesterday's live. It was about the same time, about 1 o'clock yesterday, and you'll still be able to watch that. And I did announce that we were planning, and we're not just planning, that we're going to do a little bit of a fundraiser today for Ukraine. You know, like again, I think it has touched everybody's hearts, like, you know what I mean? And again, without going into it too much, we'd like to raise, we're hoping €1,000. Now, maybe we're kind of aiming high, but I tell you what the plan is. If you've ever joined in on any of our fundraisers before, we don't ask for anything unless we give, okay? So the way this is going to work today, we'll put up the link in a couple of minutes, okay? So when you donate to the Ukraine, and we're saying a minimum of €10, okay? Now we would love if you gave a lot more, but right, a minimum of €10. You will get a receipt back from Just Giving, and by the way, the money is going straight to the Red Cross, okay? So we have a Just Giving account set up through the Red Cross. So when you donate your €10 plus, you will get a receipt back thanking you for your €10 or your €100, okay? And you will get a link to sign up for a free flower crown course. At the moment, there's 2 tutorials on it. One using roses, and I can't remember what the other one was.
Germany's.
And one using Germany's, okay? But we are planning on adding another one to it, and we're going to do it in the Ukraine colours, as in the sunflowers and the blue flowers, etc. But again, if you watched me yesterday, we had a little bit of a disaster on one of our buying, and that was the delphinium. Now, I'm not going to mention any wholesaler here. Would we mention anybody?
Not at all.
Well, a second, Frank, if you're watching, them delphinium were shite, okay? They were worse than the weather in Ireland. They were pure shite, okay? Only I can't reach it in Holland, they'd be fucked back to you, you know, back there, and you can, I'd say it was the robots. I'd say the robots were drinking, were they?
I think they must have been, yeah.
Flowers. So we had to change it around slightly, you know, that way. And where I was planning on maybe doing an arrangement and a flower crown using the blues and the yellows, but anyway, the plan was cocked up. But you know me, I'm always willing to kind of, you know, be flexible, adapt, you know, that way, pivot as they call it, you know what I mean, and do something different. And I know, like, from our module 1, and we have a lot of beginners here who have never maybe done our module 1 with us. And learning your main points, you know, like your 3s, your 5s, and your 7s, okay? Their 9s and the 11s, and we won't get them all covered today, by the way. But it is something that some people struggle with, you know, that way. And even our own module 1 students, I'd often see, like, work in the future, and I said, she hasn't quite got that there, still struggling a little bit. So I thought then that maybe I would do a class on the 5 points of flower arranging, but also showing you a few little floristry tips at the same time. So while I'm getting myself organised, I need you to start commenting underneath there. Let me know where you're watching in from. Let us know what the weather is like, because it's pure shite in Dublin. It's lashing rain. And this morning, when I was talking to the students in our bloom rooms, it seemed to be lashing all over the country. Now, what am I going to be using today? So today, everything is going to be out of the garden, okay? So I have Fatsy leaves, and you know, Deirdre, I'm not forgetting to bring in the bucket of greenery.
Okay, I'll get it now.
It's under the table in there. So I have some Fatsy leaves, and I'm going to show you little tricks, okay, how you could wire them to get a little bit of support. So these are actually Fatsy's out of Deirdre's garden. I have some cordyline leaves. Now, everybody knows a neighbour that has a cordyline leaf tree kind of grown in their garden. And what I'm going to do with the cordyline leaves, if they're a little bit tipped at the top, now I don't know, Deirdre must be looking after her as well. You can always just cut that little brown part off. And using a stapler, what I'm going to do is roll it or curl it, you see, around like that. Tuck it in, so there's our little small bit, you see, just kind of like tucked in there, kind of in the centre. And then using the stapler, I'm just going to put 2 staples, one high, one low, and can you see the effect that you get? So in your flower arrangements, you will often be looking for what's called movement. Now again, Deirdre's garden, a bit of brown at the top, it's gone now, right? And again, we roll it around, like the way you would put your rollers in at night time, okay? So any of the lads watching there, any great tips on putting rollers in? So roll it around, get your stapler, 2 staples, one high, one a little bit lower, and that will hold that in place.
It seems to be lashing all over the country.
Is it?
Gale force winds down in Cork. Una is on from Mullingar and it's lashing. Blue skies are fluffy clouds in Woodburcote in North England. So yeah, Brigitte is getting good weather over there.
Fair play to you. So here's loads of the loops, you see, the ones that I had in the oven. And if anybody's joining in late at this stage, you'll have to rewind the video to see it. Also what I have is a couple of the, do you call them flax or euphormiums? You know that way, euphormium leaves, flax leaves, New Zealand flax, whatever. Now again, these are out Deirdre's garden. There's a little bit of brown at the top there. We just cut that off. And again, a little bit of roly-poly. Sometimes you'll find it'll roll one way better than the other. So again, tucking that in as if you're kind of like making little curls. And again, using the stapler, I'm going to put 2 staples, one high, one low, and can you see the effect? So when you're looking for a bit of movement in your arrangement, so even though this is going to start off as being kind of a traditional sort of design, I like to give them a little bit of a modern twist. And as I said, everything that I'm going to be using, besides the sunflowers, are going to be out of the garden. Now, as I said, I had to completely change my plan because I had this big arrangement designed with blue delphiniums and sunflowers, and again, we're not going to mention it, but some wholesaler cocked up on the delphinium. And it wasn't in Ireland, it was a Dutch fella, you know that way, so it must have been on the drink, I'd say.
Oh, someone cha-ching.
Okay, brilliant. So when people donate, okay, we get a little notification coming in, and it's a bit like a cash register sound. It kind of goes cha-ching, and me and Deirdre always kind of make a joke about fundraisers. We love to hear that cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. So every time we hear a cha-ching, Deirdre will say cha-ching, and then you'll know somebody else is after donating. So fair play to that person who has got the ball rolling, and again, everybody else. Sinead has probably put the link in the comments. All you have to do is click on it. Probably takes, 2 seconds to do it. Fill in your name, click your PayPal or your direct debit, whatever. We're looking for a minimum of €10 per person, because I'm hoping that if we can get 100 people watching this between now and even on the replay later on this evening, and they all donate €10, we will easily get to €1,000. Now there is going to be some really generous people, and they're going to donate a lot more, and there'll be some miserable people that will look for a free course and only donate €2. You'll be named and shamed. As I said, when we do a fundraiser, we don't ask for anything unless we give you something. And what we're going to give you is a free flower crown course, and you'll get a receipt when you make your donation, and the link will be there. And I was in the middle of saying the plan was to do a Ukraine flower crown as well. But because I haven't got the materials, I will be doing one, and I'll be adding it to that flower crown course. So once you have got the link and sign in, you'll have it for 30 days, and you'll be able to join it again next week or watch it again next week, and you'll be able to see the 3rd flower crown that we will add to it as well.
And in saying that, while you've got yourself organised there, on Thursday the 24th of March, it's going to be Flower Crowns for Ukraine Day. Viv Bradford over in the UK, she's one of a really well-known florist over in the UK.
There,
I don't know if she's watching. Are you watching,
If you're
Viv?
watching, give us a little bit of a wave there. So she runs a flower arranging floristry group over on Facebook called the Floristry Coach, and it's perfect for people who are florists or in training. There we go, well done whoever donated that time. And she is just so generous with her advice, you know that way, because you kind of find like out there is some florists that they're not willing to support or help people that are starting off. Viv is amazing. She'll put the link up to her group. But she's announced that on the 24th of March, which will be next week, the week after,
the week after,
it's going to be Flower Crowns for Ukraine, and that's why we were saying about the flower crowns. But I have organised for Evergreen Silk Plants. He's sent me down some faux artificial flowers. I've just seen photographs of them, but see me, they're stuck in customs in Dublin at the moment, okay? So again, it'll probably be next week again I get them, and I will come on and I'll do a live showing how to make an artificial flower crown. And chances are we'll just add that to that flower crown tutorial, that the people who have it already, it'll be added in. So the container I'm going to use is the one I was planning on my fabulous delphiniums, okay? And you can see there, full block of floral foam stuck down into it. And what I'm going to do is cut a little bit off it.
Somebody's asking where's the link. So Sinead, you might just every 10 or 20 comments post the link again. It is in the comments on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, actually I'll try and go onto YouTube and post the link on YouTube. If you're on Instagram, Let me see. If you're on Instagram, I'm going to try and put it into the bio on Instagram after the live class. I won't be able to do it before the live class, during the live class.
If you're ever stuck, drop us an email, info@flowerschoolireland.com, and we'll send you the link, you know that way. So there's no excuse. Nobody be saying, I didn't know how to do it. There'll be absolutely no excuse. It's obviously awkward during the live, you know that way, because we're a bit of a two-man show here at the moment. But we do have Sinead, our wonderful virtual assistant, over in snowy Scotland. I don't know if they still have snow over there at the moment, and she is putting up any of our links. And we also have all our unpaid secretary, past students at the school, and should they know the story, they help me out here putting up links as well. Now, with lots of response to the scholarship, so you'll see last night and tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, and tomorrow and Friday.
Okay, we have 11. There was supposed to be 10 finalists, but we couldn't get it down. We couldn't get it down to 10. So we've 11 finalists. All their videos are going to be coming up on the page. Feel free to share them. We would love if you gave them a little bit of support as well. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's just a nice comment underneath. And for the 31st of March, we are going to be announcing the winner. Sinead is going to put the link for the event, okay, for the scholarship announcement. And if you click on it, okay, it'll come up about now, it will. And if you click on that, you'll automatically get a reminder to join us for the scholarship announcement. And chances are we'll be giving something away for free that night. Because you know us, we're generous bitches, aren't we?
We are. We're the school that keeps on giving, as they keep telling us.
So then I'm just dropping that in with a little bit of anchor tape.
Do you know there's 172 people watching on Facebook at the moment. Now, if that went up to 200, you'd only have to donate. We'd only have to get half of them donating a tenner.
Want a tenner, because then we'd raise
we want a tenner, but we would need half of them.
Absolutely. Come on, click, and don't forget to share, right?
Cha-ching!
Great, brilliant. I want more cha-chings, cha-ching. I want Deirdre like a parrot there in the background, okay? So next thing I have is the fascia leaves, or you may call them Arabian leaves, and you'll get them obviously in Deirdre's garden. I have some in my garden as well, but also lots of garden centres around the country sell them. I know for a fact that Mylands Garden Centre in Galway has them, and what area is Rockbarton Garden Centre? Somebody tagged
I think she's made.
Middle of the country anyway, and she has them, or he, I actually don't know if it's she or he. They have them for sale as well. But if there's any other garden centres watching, tag yourself there and let us know. Everybody go and buy yourself a fascia plant. They look amazing, they do, and there's so much use you can get out of them. So what I'm going to do is look at the back of the leaf. Now I do understand we're a little bit away from the camera here. And you're looking for kind of like, I'm going to call them the veins, okay? So like these little veins coming up the back of the leaf. Pick the one, fair play to you, Deirdre. Pick the one that's closer to the middle or the centre. So I'm going to pick this one. And work up about, you're going to start disturbing us here. But I want loads of disturbance. Okay. Keep going, cha-ching, cha-ching, and that'll encourage them. We're going to work up about 2 inches, 4 or 5 centimetres roughly, okay? And on either side of that, we'll call it a vein. We'll stick, these are with 20 gauge wires. We'll stick it through one side and then through the opposite side, keeping it as small as possible. So it means in the front of the leaf, you can only see a tiny little stitch. And at the back of the leaf there, you can see the 2 lengths of wire. Do you see where it's stitched through? I'm putting my thumb over it, and then I'm going to bend down the 2 pieces of wire to see at the same time. Now you needn't worry if one is a bit shorter or a bit longer than the other. Once they're both coming down, squeeze them in together around the stem of the leaf. Sometimes I naturally grab the longest one if one happens to be longer. And basically all you're doing is you're just wrapping it around the stem. And this just gives you a little bit of flexibility and manoeuvring with the leaf. If I decide when I put it into the arrangement I'd love it bent that way, I can do that. Or if the leaves that you get out Deirdre's garden or whoever's garden, they're a bit floppy, you know, that way you can wire it and then you can say, now I take the floppiness out of you, and you can straighten it back up again. Wouldn't it be great if we could do this to men as well?
Isn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
Wire at them and do a little bit of stitching. Now in case anyone missed that, we're going to do it again. Obviously when you have it grown in your own garden, you get to pick all different size leaves. So we have a lovely little baby one here. Again, we're looking at the back. We're looking for our vein, the one that's closer to the centre. About 2 inches if you're in Ireland, 2 inches, and you're my age, 2 inches. If you're younger than me, you're probably on 4 or 5 centimetres. So roughly from there up, you know, that way, get your wire, 20 gauge wire, through one side, out through the other, tiny little stitch, push it halfway through. At the front there, you can just see the tiniest of the little stitch. At the back here, sorry, did I turn that around the right way? At the front you can see a little stitch. At the back, place your thumb over the stitch, pull the 2 wires down at the same time, squeeze them in. If one wire happens to be longer than the other, you're basically wrapping the wire around the stem and around the other bit of wire at the same time. So if we want this kind of like curved or curled or angled or straightened or whatever, to see the way there's a certain amount of movement on it. So it's a great little trick, and also this works on laurel leaves. So you know, if you live near a church, a nursing home, or an old school, you'll normally find laurel trees. Now again, Deirdre has a laurel tree in her garden as
Joanne
well.
says that Morrison's in the UK have Fatsias in their plant section.
Yeah, because somebody in one of my bloom rooms posted one that they got, I think it was in Woodies or one of them home store places, you know, that way. And like she said, when she bought it, it was a bit tired looking, but it just came on absolutely brilliant.
And like, I have to say, I don't mind them, and I chop them, and I
do the same. Mine is pure abuse. And I remember a few years ago, we were building an extension in the house, and I had them out the back garden, and the builder just fecked all the rubbish on top of them, and my husband was going to throw them out. They like pull the trees up, and I said no, leave them. They came back even bigger and better than ever, you know, the way. So they actually thrive on a bit of abuse, you know, that way. So abuse them and cut them and do what you want. The only thing I would say is keep it in more a shaded part of the garden. You get kind of the darker green leaf if it's shaded, where you get kind of a brighter coloured leaf if it's in the sunny part of the garden.
Geraldine just wants to know, how long will the donation link be open? It'll be open for probably about a week or so. How it works is it automatically goes, and we actually don't even have to handle the money. It goes from just giving into giving into the Red Cross. A couple of people are saying that they donated to other places, and that's absolutely fine. It's all going in the same direction.
Yeah, it's all going to the same place, all going for a great cause. But if you give us €10, you get a free course.
You get a free course.
You wouldn't have got that off the other places. The Late Late Show wasn't giving that away.
No.
We have one for everyone in the audience, you know, that way. So like, it'd be the cheapest floristry course you'll ever buy in your life.
Anna says she has a giant one in the garden, 15 foot from a 12-inch plant.
And then put your address underneath, and we'll organise a little bus tour to your garden, Anna.
We're at €340.
Fair play. Well done, well done,
and
everybody.
Joanne says keep it covered if it's really frosty. I've never even touched mine. It does get a little bit brown on the edges.
Yeah, what we got here, Deirdre? A bit of wild ivy, bit of viburnum, bit of
Edie Agnes, I think it is, yeah.
And God knows what else, okay?
Can't remember what else.
Literally, she went out to the garden this morning. I think I texted her at 7 o'clock and I said, don't forget the greenweed, you know what I mean? So I'm just going to throw that on the floor for the moment. Now, something else that I have that I'm going to use, again, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll plan around it. Do you remember we had Irish Green guys here a few weeks ago? James, again, somebody might tag him there in the comments for me. He was down in Kerry, gas character he was. He was well able for me. So these are the bunches of birch foliage that he has for sale, and he sells to the general public as well, by the way. And this was bog myrtle. Now, we did have another name for this, and me and Deirdre is here trying to remember. Now, I know we could go back and look at the video. Can anyone out there remember what was the name of this, the real name? It was a funny name, it was.
Okay, the sound seems to be gone on my Instagram, but I'm going to stop it.
Okay.
And I'm going to
so if you're watching
start
on
it again.
Instagram, she's stopping and she's going to start again. Anyway, if anybody can remember the real name of this, any horticulturists, will you put the real name in the comments? I just have a blank on it. But bog myrtle is what we call it, right? And I'm going to use a little bit of
you're
that.
back on my Instagram.
Grand, sorry about that. Okay, we were just adding up the money and we just went missing for a few minutes.
Joanne says, thanks very much for doing this. My best friend's elderly parents managed to get out of Kiev yesterday via Romania.
Brilliant, absolutely delighted. And you know, originally, well, we had decided we were going to do this. And you know, I'm always talking about my son is getting married to the fabulous, wonderful Jessica. And they're getting married in April, Easter Monday. If you want to send any cards or presents, you know the way you the best late but the bridesmaid, Christina, she's actually from the Ukraine. She's living in Ireland. Her mum, her dad, her little sister, they're all living in Ireland. But her dad has actually bought a van himself out of his own money. And they're after being, you know, getting donations and lots of, you know, whatever. And he's actually going to drive to Poland, you know, that way, and bring all the stuff over. Again, they have loads of families, loads of relations, and they're really upset about this. And originally I was actually trying to get this set up that Christina's dad would be able to use it. But unfortunately with the, you know, the Just Giving and the GoFundMe, it was just too messy. So we decided to just go for the Red Cross. But as I said, it's all going to a really good cause. It doesn't matter who you donate to. We obviously wanted to donate to us. You're going to get a free course. Okay, we're going to use some sunflowers. So sunflowers are the national flower
Mystical
of
Gale. Miss Myrica Gale Angelis. And that's not the name he had.
No, it was a funny name.
Cha-ching, €50. Wow.
Fair play to you, whoever gave that €50. Absolutely delighted. Really, really appreciated. So we must be up to 400, are we?
I don't know.
Check it in a minute. It's very hard to keep the check on everything here. Okay, so there are, again, just kind of giving you an idea, like with the sunflowers. If you're treating and conditioning them, remove the leaves, a deep phase of water, recut them, that way, and keep them in a cool area, and they will last, you'll get about 7 days out of them. Now, a little trick. Sometimes, obviously, naturally, sunflowers look towards the sun, and I always say to the students, they have a definite front and a definite back. So if you kind of find that you want to give them a little bit more support, or they're on a tilt, but you're kind of saying, don't you feckin' tilt anymore, I want you to stay exactly as you are. If you get a 20 gauge wire, but just cut it about 3 centimetres, that way, 3-4 centimetres, whatever length you want to call that there, just to kind of give you an idea. By the way, do you like my yellow apron? Deirdre made me wear yellow today. And what you're then going to do...
$6.25.
Wow, okay.
We have the best followers.
Best followers. I really, really appreciate it. So what we're going to do with this little piece of wire is stick it down the centre of the sunflower, okay? You can't even see it. It's not going to cause any harm at all to the flower. And then kind of down into the stem, and just kind of support the stem while you're sticking it down, just to make sure that the wire doesn't come out. Now when it goes down so far, I'm just going to use the blade of the scissors, just so I don't hurt my finger. And that wire then is gone down into the sunflower, and it won't straighten it, but it'll stop it going anymore. That way. So it's just a little tip for you, and you could use a 19 gauge wire, which would even be better. Okay, that was a 20 gauge. We very rarely store 19 here at the class. Isn't this
we are, and that's another €50 coming in.
Excellent.
That's just phenomenal.
I think we.
I'm actually getting shivers. I am.
Fair play to you, everybody. Really, really appreciate it. Okay.
Cha-ching.
You're going to use 5 flowers. In floristry, they say about the uneven numbers. 3, 5, 7, 9, 11 and 13, okay? Now that's not to say that you can't use 4 or you can't use 6, okay? And I often say to the students, at the classes, we teach them all their numbers. But what if a customer comes into you and they say, this would be a typical thing, well, we're 4 years married and could you do an arrangement and include 4 roses? And I say, I know. Because Janette said I had to be 3, 5 or 7. Could you come back next year? That way when you're on the uneven numbers? So obviously rules are there, but rules are there to be broken. And also I encourage our students about building up their own signature style, where obviously the programme is obviously keeping to the syllabus. But then, at the end of the day, who decided that it has to be 3, 5, 7 and 9? So take this kind of as a guideline, but feel free to adjust it around and suit yourself. And any other florist out there that starts criticising you and saying, it has to be, you can do what you like. You tell them you can do what you like within reason. That's once you get the experience and once you've learned all your principles.
There's some names coming in. Bridgie said it's a polystrus, but no, it was a funny name, like Gaga or...
something like Gaga or Gummy or I haven't got a clue.
Goo.
And maybe feckin' Kerry fella, maybe he made it up. Maybe he was taking the piss out of us on the day, and he could have been making me say that name, and maybe it's completely wrong. Now, one other little tip for you with all flowers, because obviously if you don't like sunflowers or you're not able to get them, as soon as your hydrangeas come into flower in your garden, okay, Deirdre has fabulous hydrangeas as well, so all up to her house, is if you get 5 hydrangeas, you could do, substitute what I'm using today, or if you prefer 5 lilies or 5 iris or a smaller scale, 5 daffodils, 5 tulips. Do you understand? It can be absolutely anything. But the rule is big flowers at the bottom and smaller flowers at the top.
Now, how do you remember that's the rule?
How you remember that? Okay, now remember I've been going to a bit of gym classes lately, getting skinny for the wedding that I keep talking about. So if you look at me, typical figure here, okay, supermodel, small at the top, a little bit bigger on the chest, and definitely bigger and fatter on the arse, okay? So when you're making your flower arrangements, think of me, and I'm probably the same as most of you out there, the same sort of shape. You definitely have a small head, you definitely have bigger boobs, even if they're not that big, they're bigger than your head, okay? You're getting bigger. And as you move down, most women, we have them childbearing hips, and the arse and the bum and the hips and whatever you want to call it definitely spreads out a little bit more. So think of that when you're doing your flowers. So here is my head, you know, that sort of way. And here is my arse. Can you see my bum? Sorry, I shouldn't have said the word arse. So there's my bigger flower, you see at the bottom. So I can gradually grade the flowers, you know, that way that I'm getting my waist, my boobs, my neck, my head, and so on. What are you laughing at over there?
I'm laughing at you with your
Did not say arse.
Yeah.
Said bum. Posterior is not the
Kathy
right
said
word.
Ride Oak is the Irish for the bog myrtle.
That sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right on.
But that's not the word.
No,
have
it's
to
still
find
not
it.
the one that he called it, you know,
No.
that way. Now maybe he was showing me something else. Maybe I'm completely confused altogether. Okay, I will keep turning this around to you, okay? So I have the flowers kind of pointed at me that I can see me bum and me neck and me head and all the rest. That I can see kind of the different sizes. So I'm picking the bigger flower, which is definitely this one. And again, you have your front and your back, but you also have like the upright way, or what I call the happy flower. And the poor sad flower. Do you see how sad that looks? Now watch the difference. You start going cha-ching, Deirdre, and look how smiley and happy the flower is going to look now. So when you're positioning the flowers, I want happy flowers, I want smiley flowers, I want heads, I want bums, I want boobs. You know, that way we're going to get that all into our display. So back to our bigger flower here.
Cha-ching.
We're going to cut it on a slant. There we go. The flower is smiling.
Cha-ching.
Put it on an angle, and I'm not putting any greenery in so that I can. I will eventually, okay? But just so that I can teach this as a class. So this is just kind of a cement, kind of like urn pedestal kind of container. So down low on the pedestal container, you can see the floral foam is up that little bit higher. I'm going to rest this flower, and I'm going to slightly angle it to my left as I look at it. Now if you're left-handed and you find it more comfortable to angle it to the right, that's fine as well. Just everything else has to change, okay? So everything I'm going to say will be the opposite. But it doesn't really matter. So don't put it like dead straight, you know what I mean? As I said, I want it angled one way or to the other. Now slightly. So you know the way the Scottish say a wee bit? Well, I want you, and the Northern Ireland people say that,
They
so
do,
a
yeah.
wee bit, okay? Because
Cha-ching.
the Republic of Ireland, when you say go a bit to the right, they nearly move right over, or a bit to the left. It's a wee bit to the right, or a wee bit to the left, or as I just say, a little bit to the right, or a little bit to the left. So I'm on my bottom flower, my big flower. It's resting on the container. It's a wee bit to the left-hand side. And now I'm going to just stick that into the floral foam. And I'm sticking it in a good bit because they drink a lot of water. I'm going to turn it around to you now. I'm not using a turntable because it comes up too high for me, and I'm in my flat boots today. So there is our anchor tape kind of in the middle, just where my finger is, just to kind of give you an idea, you know, that way, the slight little angle. And if I let you look at it that way, you can see the way it's coming
Gaggle.
forward. Gaggle, that's the
The
word.
Dutch for bog myrtle is gaggle. Who
Fair
got
play
that?
to you.
Kathy
And that
didn't
was
know.
what he told me.
Viv Bradford.
Thanks a million. You see, I told you, Viv, it's full of knowledge. You know that way. I was praising you there a while ago, Viv, if you were listening. And that's the word. And he did tell us that was the Dutch word.
Yeah.
Again, clean forgot. And at the time, I said to him, it's like a duck, gaggle,
Yeah.
gaggle, gaggle, or a goose, gaggle, gaggle, gaggle. There you go. There's always somebody that cops on for us and comes up. As I say, we don't know everything. We think we know everything, you know that way, but you never know everything.
Just Angela King and Maureen McLaughlin are having their lunch at the moment.
Fair play to
No
yourselves.
champagne yet until Friday.
Angela's daughter is getting married, and so Angela is in County Derry and Maureen is
Cha-ching,
County Donegal, and they have teamed up a good few times. Again, we definitely encourage you where our students team up together, and Maureen has travelled down. As far as I know, I think she's going to the wedding and all. She is.
Oh, is she?
I was trying to get an invite for us, but
I didn't
Angela
work,
wasn't
no.
having any of it. Well, she said if you invite me, I'll invite you to mine if you invite me to
Okay.
yours, you know. So I couldn't invite her over to Lanzarote. So, but yeah, fair play. I'm absolutely dying to see all the designs. Right, we're working our way up, and again, I have kind of another biggish looking flower. It's a fraction smaller than the previous one. Now, I'll probably cut this in around the same length, okay? And I'm going to take off any leaves at the bottom, and again, I've cut on an angle. Now, remember the front is looking at me now. I'm going to turn it sideways to you, because this is where everybody goes wrong.
Cha-ching.
I'm now going to turn it frontways to you. When people do these designs, they think they're in the pub playing darts. So you know you're in the pub playing darts and they are and you're fecking the darts at the dartboard. Now that's obviously not how you play darts, but I haven't got a clue. So when they're doing the flower arrangements, they're fecking the flowers in that direction. And what happens is all the flowers are looking forward. And when you look at the arrangement sideways, it gets what we call a bump, or as we call it, the pregnant flower arrangement. Now, unless you're already pregnant, and fair play to you and congratulations, because we have 3 students pregnant at the moment. Heather, Lisa and Jenny Bombelli. And we could have a few more that haven't spread the news, because you see, once you tell me a bit of news, I tell everybody. tell Janette, tell the world. But anyway, what we don't want is bumpy arrangements, okay? We want this kind of slide or kind of angled, and I'll show you that as we work along. So how you do that is you step back on the floral foam. Do you see the way I'm like stepping back? And if I went to the left-hand side angled, which I did the last time, this flower is going to be slightly angled a wee bit to the right-hand side. But it's obviously, you can only do it if you're looking straight on. So I'm looking straight on the arrangement, bottom flowers to the left-hand side slightly. I'm stepping kind of in behind it. I'm going to take a fraction off that now, by the way. Fraction off it. I'm stepping in behind it, okay? It's slightly, as you can see there, a wee bit to the right-hand side. And now I'm going to push that flower down into the floral foam. Now I'm going to move it around to you just so that you can see what I've done. Can you see the way one is a little bit to the, you know, the angle to the other side? And if I turn it sideways, this is what we're looking for. No bump on me. Do you see the flat tire there? I wish, okay? That again, like there, you're getting this slide effect, and that is so important. It's how you know a professional flower arrangement to what we call a kitchen sink florist. Nothing wrong with the kitchen sink flowers. We have plenty of kitchen sink florists and hobby florists watching here. But if you watch these little points and tricks that I'm showing you, these are things that will make your arrangements a little bit more professional. So now again, I'm looking at my size heads, you know, that way, and I'm going for this one next because again, it's a fraction smaller than the last one. And again, I'm going to cut this one a little bit taller than our previous layer, and if there's a leaf in the way, you can take it off. Now this time I'm stepping in behind, which is what I did previously. So I'll turn it sideways to you, just so that you kind of get an idea. Do you see the way I'm kind of stepping in behind? Again, do you remember I mentioned playing darts? If you start playing darts, do you see the way the flowers are looking forward all the time? Whereby stepping back, and this flower is kind of like looking up towards the sky, and it's obviously going a wee bit to the left again. But it's easier for me if I actually look straight on while I do it. Again, always make sure the happy side of the flower is looking out at you. And again, and I cut that one a bit too short, so just to cover my mistake, that one's just going down a little bit lower, and then I'm perfect. So there we have, again, our zigzag kind of coming up on the arrangement. And you know what? I'm going to have another little bit of fixing because it's slightly angled forward, okay? So isn't it great to see me making mistakes? You know that way? And that's the thing about a live show. I have no control. I can't say to Deirdre, stop that video, edit that bit out, and let's start again. Okay, I'm new. Oh, sorry, let's show you. So again, can you see the way our zigzag is coming up through the display, right? So now we're going to go a little bit higher. I better not cut this one too short. A little bit higher, and we're going to go angled to the opposite side. Now all these flowers actually have numbers, okay? And I will cover that with you afterwards. So hopefully you have notebooks and pens, because I did say to people, you know, that I have a notebook and pen ready, because this is probably more of a class than an actual demonstration. Do you know that way? And you will pick up like a couple of little tips.
Do you want to know how much we're at?
What are we at?
923.
Woohoo! 80 euros more, girls and boys, okay? Keep cha-ching in there. Isn't it just brilliant here, Deirdre, saying cha-ching, cha-ching? And remember, this is going to a fantastic charity. Do you know, like a fantastic cause? Like when you see all the people getting on the trains with babies and having to leave their prams behind, and like fair play, I think it was in Germany train station, all the Germans had left all their babies' buggies for the Ukraine people when they landed, that they had something to put the babies in. Do you know that way? And obviously there's huge amount of stories out there. We can all tell a story, and there's a lot of people know people that are being personally affected. So like be generous, as I said, minimum of 10 euros that we're looking for, but you're getting a free course. Like again, late show, one for everyone in the audience. Back to the arrangement. You can see I cut this one the right height this time. And again, it's kind of going in behind it, and it's angled to the opposite side, okay? And again, I'm going to turn that around just so that you can see how it's working. And can you see our zigzag coming up through the display? And then I'm on to my last flower. Now, by the way, you can go to 6 and you can go to 7, and you can continue that up. But I'm just going to keep it to the 5 here today, just to kind of give you kind of an idea. So again, I'm going to go a little bit taller with this flower here. cut it on an angle. I'm going to step in behind it, and this obviously is my smaller flower, do you know that way? I'm gripping the back of it here, and again I'm going to stick that one down. So it's slightly angled to the opposite side of this one, but yet it's closer to the centre, just so that we're getting our height. So can you see the zigzag coming up through the display? Now, some of you watching might say that you were taught a different way, and yet there's loads of different ways of doing it, because that actually is the number one flower. And if I was probably doing it, you know what I mean, for an arrangement for speed, I'd probably put that one in first and that one in second. Number 2 is the bottom. Number 1 is the top, 2 is the bottom,
Cha-ching.
3 is the middle, and 4 is halfway between the top 2, and 5 is halfway between the bottom 2, approximately. And some people decide to bring their 5 down a bit lower, or their 4 up a little bit higher to the top one. And again, that isn't a rule. That's something that you can adjust yourself. So hopefully you picked up a few, we're not finished, hopefully you picked up a few little tips there. So we just get rid of our sunflower stems. So as I said, I want
sorry, Janette, somebody just asked, how long do sunflowers last?
7 days kind of is the maximum, do you know that way? Like in general, I suppose most flowers last between 5 and 7 days. There is a lot of flowers that will last a little bit longer, and a lot of flowers that will last a little bit less as well. Because this is really hard to cut, and I haven't got a secateurs handy, I just kind of broke it, and then I'm just going to recut it and get like the slant at the bottom. So this is our birch, okay, and this is from Irish Green, guys. And as I said, you can contact them. Somebody might tag them in the comments below. Just put the @ sign and put Irish Green, guys, and you can actually buy that off them. And even any of the UK people that are watching here, he actually has a depot in the UK, so there's no problem. You get, I actually think you get the stuff quicker than we can get it. And it's sent by, is it Expressway?
Yeah.
It's sent by Expressway, and I think it's €9 delivery charge.
Yeah, I think it's DPD, and I think it's €9, yeah.
So if you buy 100 bunches, it's €9, and if you buy 1 bunch, it's €9. Obviously on the site there's an area for what we would call the public buying, and then obviously there's an area for, like, say, flower shops kind of buying, where obviously they're buying in bulk and they're going to get it, you know, I mean, a little bit cheaper than you would. Now, just coming up in front of what I would call my number 1 flower, or the flower that was the head, you know that way, I'm just going to hit the leaf there. I'm just adding in just another small stem of that birch, okay, just a lighter stem. And what that does, it gives you a little bit of a 3D. Do you see the way it has stepped forward? And again, like your flowers, do you see the way they're coming up in between it? And again, you can do that. You can cut smaller little pieces off it. Remember, when you buy the birch, you have it forever. Just stick it out in your garage or your shed. And again, just kind of coming down and just stepping another little bit there. And this is a bunch that I have kind of in my hand. I can't remember the price of it, but when you go onto his website, you'll see all the prices. And I'm just kind of like getting myself a little bit smaller and smaller as I work down through the arrangement. Now this obviously is not going to cover the floral foam, do you know that way? And somebody's bound to ask me, can I do this in chicken wire? And absolutely you could do it in chicken wire if you wanted to kind of be more foam free.
Facebook is glitching a little bit, but
okay, hopefully.
I'm going to just take it off the Wi-Fi, and yeah, it probably is. I'm going to put it onto the Wi-Fi and see if that'll help.
What to say? With a demonstration like this, you know that way, and explaining it, it's easier for me to demonstrate in floral foam than in chicken wire. I also find for the students, when they're only learning how to do it, you have a little bit more manoeuvring, you know that way, and you know, playing around with it when you have the floral foam, where kind of with the chicken wire you may damage the stem, and if you pull it out you might kind of like wreck the stem off the chicken wire. So all I've just done there is just add in another little bit of twig. Can you see there coming down through our display? The next thing I'm going to add in now is a couple of our fascia leaves. Now, do you remember when I was taking the fascia leaves, I said to you I had a little baby one, a little small one, okay? So I'm going to cut this short, and when you're cutting it, you can cut through the wire and all. Do you know that way the wire isn't where I'm going to cut it, right? But if the wire happened to be, just cut straight through the wire. And do you remember me saying the way I can manoeuvre, you know, this leaf? And you know where that bottom sunflower was? I'm going to add this leaf just kind of in slightly to the right hand side and slightly angled, okay? I'll turn that around to you now just in a second, and you can see the way our fascia leaf, do you see the way it's just resting there at the bottom? And then I'm going to have a look for one of the bigger ones, you know what I mean? We've loads of big ones here. And again, I'm going to straighten this leaf up. If anything, I'm actually tilting it forward, you know that way? So really, really straightening it up, cutting it quite short again. And at the very back of the arrangement, kind of in between our sunflower and our little bit of birch coming up there for height, I'm going to insert this fancy leaf, you see down there, and you see the way it gives you like a nice background to the arrangement.
€1,009.
Isn't that amazing? Give yourself a big clap. Way done. Fair play to everybody. We really, really appreciate it. And I'm not finished the arrangement, so if I go slower, what do you think? I'm only messing.
And just a reminder about the Flower Crown course in case anyone is just joining in. If you do donate, you will get a thank you email from Just Giving, which is going to give you a free link to a Flower Crown course, because on the 24th of March, Viv Bradford over in the UK has initiated a Crowns for Ukraine. So you can make your flower crown at any time, but we would love you to post a photograph of you, your dog, your cat, your horse, your donkey, your husband, anybody wearing a flower crown, and hashtag Crowns for Ukraine on that day. And it's really just to show solidarity with the Ukrainian people. So fantastic.
I love a smaller leaf, but anyway, Deirdre kind of picked a bigger one, so I'm going to have to go for this one here. There we go.
No smaller ones there.
I don't think there is a smaller one, no. I'll do another smaller one just at the bottom. Do you know what? I think I'm going to leave it out. I would have loved another smaller one coming in here, but listen, this is a live show, and I have to make do with what I have. So you can see there, I had a fancy leaf in the front. I had a bigger fancy leaf at the back, and then I just kind of cupped them round. So I often describe this to the students like a Queen Victoria collar. Not that I know Queen Victoria, but the UK ones will know it. Do you know the way she always had this big Philly collar kind of coming up around her? So that's kind of the effect that I was trying to get with the fancy leaves, and that's just to let her open her top button. Do you know that little gap there? So then what I'm going to do is with our fancy leaves, okay, or sorry, not our fancy leaves, our cordyline leaves, what you can do is you can cut these on an angle, so like on a point, you see at the bottom, and then you're able to pick one side of your arrangement and you're basically sticking it down into the floral foam. And just do them all kind of like different lengths. Like, I'm not measuring. If you've ever done a course with me, I don't believe in measuring. Do you know that way? As you can see, sometimes I make a cock up, you know that way. But you're better off just kind of being real kind of casual about it and kind of hope for the best. So I have inserted kind of two there at the back, but when I turn this round now in a second, you're also going to see that I'm cutting some a little bit smaller, and I'm working towards the centre of where the sunflowers have actually been inserted into the floral foam. Now I'm not finished, okay? So just to show you. So there's the two that I placed at the back. And you see the way I moved forward, and then I moved forward. So if I turn that sideways to you, can you see the way I'm getting that like 3D effect? And again, if you do that to your flower arrangements, it stops that real brick wall. Again, you know the way we talked about the pregnancies earlier on, another common mistake is people start, you know that way, their first flower, and the next one is against it, and the next one is against the wall, you know that way, and it's flat. Where try and give a little bit of dimension to your arrangements, and I think kind of it looks nicer. But listen, at the end of the day, it's your signature style, it's your display. And unless you're working for a boss that kind of says, no, you can't do that, you have to do it this way, well then that's a different story altogether. So again, these all cost me for free. It cost me nothing, do you know that way? This is a charity event. But as I said, with a little bit of a cock-up we had with our deliveries. But no matter what happens, you can always get out of a hole, can't you? Well, we always do, Deirdre.
Absolutely.
We'll talk ourselves out of it, if nothing else. But listen, Deirdre, what about our nominations?
Yes, we have our final 11 for our scholarship.
No, the other thing about us.
Oh, about us. Oh, yeah, Intrigue Design. We're being nominated again this year for Intrigue Design's awards. So we really would love your support in nominating us under social media superstars, because I do think we're social media superstars. And
that's been a bit big-headed now.
Well, do you know what? We had such a great reach over the last month on our Facebook page and our Insta. We mightn't have great followers, but we have great reach, as in we mightn't have big numbers of followers. So I think we do very well on social media. So anyway, I want a nomination for social media superstars, and for, again, obviously floral educators. Last year we won the Floral Educator Award, so we really would like to.
This is an American award, and we won it for the world. So we bet Spain and France and was the Ukrainian and Russia. We bet Russia.
Okay.
I'm only messing. We're not going to get political. We bet the UK. We bet them all. We did. You know that way. So I don't know whether we'll win again this year. You know that way. But it doesn't matter anyway. Isn't it great just to be nominated? But Sinead is going to put the link up, because what we need is people to nominate us. You know that way.
In those categories.
In those categories. So don't nominate us in the florist ones. But a lot of our students who have just started off. They're in what's called the budding florist, you know that way. Again, it's another category. And last year, 2 of our students won that. One was, no, actually 2 of them were through to the final.
That's right.
One of them won it. Again, I'm talking worldwide. So Flower Pop, Heather Betsy, she actually won the budding florist last year. So I think she's hoping to win for one of the other awards this year. I'm not sure. Again, Heather, if you're watching.
Tatiana says we are superstars.
Thanks a million,
Cha-ching! We were up over 1,000. We were 1,029, I think it was the last time I looked. So
what I just did there was I slipped that little roller into the gap there between the 2 leaves. And again, it's just to bring in the other colour. Do you see, like with the flax over to the opposite side. Now again, remember, besides the 5 sunflowers, and obviously the birch, you know what I mean? But that could be a twig out of anybody's garden. Like I'm looking out the window there and there's loads of twigs on the trees outside. So that could be any sort of a twig. It doesn't have to be the birch. Most florists are selling sunflowers at the moment. A lot of them are selling them for charities, so they're basically not taking any profit at all, or they're putting the cost price of the flowers even as a donation. So you could go in and you could buy 5 sunflowers, but you could keep it at 3 if you wanted to make a smaller version of this display. And also everything else then, as I said, was for free, like the Fatsias out of the garden. If you live near Rialto, message me, because there's a garden across the road that has loads of Fatsia leaves in it, and I wouldn't say she'd be looking out her window and we could get a few of them.
Our Janette has some in her garden too.
I have some as well in my garden. My garden is nice as your woman's, but and the house next door to the Fatsia garden has the cordylines grown. Do you know that way? So this knock at their pink door downstairs. I'll send you across the road and
you'll have to knock at the door first and ask them.
Yeah. So again, just bringing a little bit of our flax, as I said, out to the opposite side.
Yeah, that's
so
lovely.
now it's just a little bit of coverage. So this is where I never got to use my gaggle, Deirdre, after all about the gaggle, but I still might use it. So in around the back here, I'm going to use the viburnum, which has a beautiful flower on it. Now, anybody that was watching us, do you know when we were doing the St. Patrick's Day wreath or early spring wreath, whatever, or late spring wreath, whatever you want to describe it as. What you could do, if anybody wants to copy it, is to do it with the viburnum. It would be absolutely gorgeous, you know, that way. And then you're getting the little bit of flower on it. It'll dry out. And if you watch the video, this is just ivy. This is wild ivy. I think the birds shit on that piece, Deirdre, so I'll have to get a different base anyway. But it's literally wild, you know, that way.
It is wild. I actually had to break it down a bit and climb
it's just brilliant for coverage, you know what I mean? So again, just out to one side here, this is kind of at the back of the arrangement, adding in, like say, a group of ivy, a group of the viburnum, like whatever foliages you happen to have. It doesn't have to be, whatever you can rob, but the proper word is forage. And Viv Bradford is going to pick me up now because you're not supposed to forage unless you have a licence. But I think that's different in the UK.
Yeah, I think as long as it's not for commercial use.
Yeah. So none of us are, this is for charity. So when you're doing all your orders for Mother's Day, if anybody stops you with a yellow day glow jacket, just say this is for charity. So once you're not making any money on it, we're obviously only joking, by the way, in case we start off a controversial conversation here. So just to show you there at the back where I've just kind of like let the ivy kind of flow over, I'm just turning around just to have a little look. What other the little bit of Ely Agnes, this will be brilliant. Is the any with yellow on it?
There was only one stem, I think, with yellow.
Your tree needs to be cut back there because it's isn't it?
No, I think that's the new growth. Isn't variegated. Yeah.
So again, this is going
Claire
to be
Shed says that you have to go up a Ray Deirdre's garden. Yeah, you should actually. Yeah,
it could do
a really bad cutback at the moment. And I'd say I will be cutting down a eucalyptus tree in the next, not even the tree, just the top of it in the next few weeks. So I'll be putting it out. Anybody wants eucalyptus, come up to walk and stuff.
It's brilliant because I had somebody there a while ago and I didn't actually need it that week. But again, she was cutting down her mum's eucalyptus tree. But I think the local, I said to her, go down to the local florist. I said they'd be absolutely delighted. So what I've just done there in the centre is added in a little bit of the Ely Agnes just to bring a little bit of yellow into it.
Do you know, with just 5 flowers, isn't it just lovely? Yeah.
And 5 hydrangeas, 5 gerberas, 5 stems of lilies with less heads on them probably work out better. 5 big blown roses. What else, Deirdre? 5 iris.
Yeah.
The purple iris, again, they're in season at the moment. I just think I could do with another few of the
loop-de-loops
over the other side, just a bit more kind of like the yellow.
And just guys, if you're watching on the replay and you're watching this later on, please, we would absolutely love your donations. And the donation links is in the comments. Janette has been posting, Celine has been posting it, Gail has been posting it. We've loads of people posting up the link. If you're watching over on Instagram, please, 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 I'll go into the bio in a little while and put the link up there. Or come over to Facebook. If you can't
find it, drop us an email.
Or a PM or a DM and we will send it to you. We have another one in there. And I see Jessica has just tuned in.
There, she says so Jessica is my wonderful, wonderful daughter-in-law. And it's her friend Christina. Do you remember I mentioned
who inspired all this?
Who inspired all this, you know, that way. So, again, it's going to the Red Cross, which I think, like even the one the Late Late Show the other night, I think everybody is focusing it's all going to the one area, and then it's probably easier for them to divide it up. So I think there's enough in that. What do you think, Julie?
Yeah, I think that's
fab. Put this in the magic bin.
Put it into the magic bin for now.
Down there in the magic bin. And do I need to gaggle gaggle? Give us a look here. Here's our gaggle gaggle. Should we bring up a bit of it? Wouldn't it be nice? Seeing that we got it. I think I'll bring it up at the back there, right? So we'll try and we'll get it in. So just kind of cutting a little bit off there. Mind your fingers. We'll bring a bit down there. So just it'll mix in. So again, as I said, it doesn't have to be birch or gaggle gaggle. Do you know that way? It can be any sort of kind of like twigs that you have. A twig out somebody's garden. You know that way. A twig growing along the side of the street. Again, I'm just going to bring a little bit down there into it. I'm getting carried away now.
Losing the money yourself.
Stop, stop, stop. And sometimes that's what you have to do. I am going to stop after this last part. So again, very simple flower arrangement. Showing you 5 flowers, the 5 points.
And very reasonably priced, like if you're for yourself, like obviously that's a commercial
because
thing.
Because we can't sell this for commercial, do you?
No.
Do you remember, like, you know what I mean, it's foraged.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to sell commercial, you're not allowed to make profit on it. But hope you enjoyed that tutorial. Please share this video. So again, if you can get any of your friends in that, because I think it was a good class. Did you?
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was.
What about yous out there watching? Do you think it was a good class? Did you learn anything? Did you pick up a couple of tips?
See you using your scissors. Does it matter what you use, Janet? I presume does she mean a knife or scissors?
You could use a knife if you prefer. I was trained on the scissors, and I actually prefer to use the scissors. Sometimes I use the knife, but what I'm always afraid of, you know, with a demonstration, if I use the knife and I'm there kind of cutting away, and then the public who maybe haven't had professional training might go and think they can do the same thing and cut the hands off themselves, you know the way. Now, I wouldn't be liable, just to kind of say, but still, you do have to be trained on using a florist knife. So that's to be honest, most times I'm comfortable using the scissors or secateurs, and you've seen there where I cheated. I would have had to go in there and get the secateurs. I hadn't got it on the table handed to me, and I just broke the stem, and then I recut it, and it just made it easy for me.
Everyone's saying that yes, definitely a brilliant class. And as we're finishing off, we are on 1,144.
Well, fair play to you. So we met our target. We did say €1,000, and I bet on tomorrow that'll be after coming up again.
I think we might hit 2,000.
I think we will, because that was fairly quick. And what happens is there's a lot there watching are going to say, oh shit, I don't want to go and donate yet because I missed the class. So I know all you that didn't donate yet, you are going to donate, aren't you? So everybody nod their head. You're all going to donate now, you are. And again, as I said, if anybody has any problems, donating, just drop us an email. If you're wondering how you get your Flower Crown free course, it's in the receipt from Just Giving. Do you know what I mean? So just read it, all the directions is there. Are we going to pop on tomorrow and see what
we will, we'll pop on tomorrow, yeah.
And listen, to do us a little favour, okay? Any chance of nominating us for the Social Media Superstar and also for Floral Educator of the Year, we would really appreciate it. Sinead has put it in the links there. We do have it up on our Facebook page. I have posted it in the Flowery Fun group as well, and it literally takes 2 minutes to do it. Now, we're not supposed to say this, but if you had 2 emails, we might be able to get 2 votes. Now, I'm not saying anybody should do that, you know what I mean?
But it's not really even a voting at this stage.
No,
at this stage, it's just on the nominations. We will, we'll be back. Somebody donated £5. We'll be back.
No, they're not getting the video for a £5. Janie Mac.
We'll be back when we're looking for the votes.
A £5 is still good. It's still a great cause. I'm only slagging when I said that, by the way.
Cha-ching again.
Fair play to you. There she's donating another £5. We named and shamed her. Okay, listen, goodbye everybody. Huge thanks for joining us. Really, really appreciate it. We'll pop on tomorrow and we'll give you a little update on what's happening. Good luck. Have a great day. See you all. Bye-bye.